At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to This Week in Geek.net. I am one of your hosts today. I am Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as well. It's just after the first day of summer here in Southern Ontario, here in Canada. I'm joined by my compatriot in a nicely air-conditioned studio apartment.
Alex, the producer. And don't jinx me, man.
Yeah, it is so bloody hot outside right now, and like that's actually kind of something to like kind of lean into something. So here at Twig, we tend to take a little bit of time off during the summertime, which I guess this is kind of like our programming note. We have a bunch of stuff pre-recorded. I'm doing some very light recording during our quote-unquote hiatus outside of the normal reviews we process weekly. So Ontario last night got hammered with major thunderstorms near our friend Darla. There was a tornado warning at 1 o'clock in the morning. And as of right now, we are recording this on Sunday, the 22nd of June. I went out this morning for breakfast with my wife, Blair. It was a gorgeous morning. It was breezy. It was bloody gorgeous. At 11:30, it's like someone threw a hot, wet towel on you. The humidity went from like maybe 30, right? It feels like a jungle out there. It is like in Guatemala hot.
It is, now consider this, it's not a dry heat. It is also, like you said, extremely humid. It is 111 Fahrenheit. Right?
Yeah, it is fucking gross. And it sucks because like I like to go outside and I normally do a lot of volunteering with the housing insecure and, you know, vulnerable population, because that's what I do. But I talked with my nurse practitioner sister today, Kara, and she's like, yeah, Mike, you're not going anywhere. If you're going anywhere, you are out before 9 a.m. You are back before 10. It is too hot for you. And since I had my weight loss surgery, much like you, I handle heat a hell of a lot better. I wouldn't say I enjoy heat, but it doesn't bother me anymore. Today, it bothered me because it was just so bloody hot. Now, thanks to you, I actually really got to send a huge shout out to you, Alex. So last week is the first time I've seen you in probably like a month or so, if not a little bit longer. You built me a new TWIG computer. And I had this giant tower that I built with my 60 scoop money a couple of years ago. So it was awesome. It did the job it needed to do. And you're like, Mike, it's probably about time for a new computer.
It's just past the 5-year mark.
Yeah, and it was starting to slow down. It was starting to act a little bit funny. And you had
the whole walking around it, and then sometimes the screen would kick off.
Yeah, it was so weird. So to give the Twig listeners a weird visual.
There wasn't a short, but something was not working quite right. There was some sort of, static buildup or something that was going on, and it didn't like when people went near it.
Yeah, it was so weird, and only ever did it with Blair. So my wife would walk by my computer, And sometimes, no rhyme, no reason, it would just randomly just go boop and shut off and reset. It was so friggin' weird. I've never seen that happen. I asked my friend Lewis, who is a very big computer guy, and he looked at my computer. We ran a bunch of tests, and he's like, Mike, I literally cannot explain this. Like, he's got like a degree in computer sciences or something. He's like, that's fucking weird. I'm like, okay, so my computer's haunted. Awesome. So when you pitched to me, Mike, we're going to build you a new computer. This is where I'm 43 years old. I'm approaching middle age now. And I'm at the point where I'm that meme, old man yells at cloud. And what do I mean by that? I don't like change. I fear change in the biggest ways, but only when it comes to technology. If you tell me something's going to change tomorrow, big life thing, I'll deal with it. Clearly, I'm an amputee. I get change. But when it comes to, hey, Mike, we're going to change your settings on your computer. Oh my God, please don't. Please, please, please stop. And you had to constantly reassure me for a week. Things are going to be fine. We're going to have your settings. So I'm literally going through, backing up all my passwords, double checking everything. Or does all my two-factor authentication bullshit work? And I'm thinking, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. You hooked up my computer. We were up and going within like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, just from transferring data.
It was like transferring some data and then signing into your accounts and it doing all the rest.
Yeah, like it was such a asshole clenching moment that I hate it, but it works now, and that ties into the heat thing. So my old computer, it would make a difference in my apartment of easily 5 or 6 degrees. Right now, my apartment is currently sitting at 21 degrees, where if this was the old computer, it'd probably be closer to 28 degrees in here. It is cold in here.
We went to like a mini PC size, but the modern mini PC, like very modern. So,
I could play Cyberpunk on this thing, which blows my mind.
That's the funny thing. It doesn't have a dedicated video card. It is integrated, but it's so new that it can actually do light AAA gaming on like low settings, or like indie games at full 4K if you want to.
Yeah, like I just want to be able to play Mech Warrior and some of my old fighting games. So I don't exactly see Street Fighter 4 or Marvel vs. Capcom maxing this thing out. In fact, you had it set up for me in such a way, because I had my GOG account. I gave you my kind of login, and we downloaded all these games, and I just never bought it because I never got PC games to work properly, because I hate controllers on PC because it's always having to set it up, and it's always such a huge pain in the ass. But you set it up for me, and I forgot you can use PlayStation 5 DualSense, controllers just by syncing it via Bluetooth, and it works. Like, I haven't really PC gamed since like the late 90s, early 2000s. So this is kind of exciting. Like, it's like getting a brand new game console to me, because I never did it because I was so, as I mentioned, afraid of change. Now I don't have to worry about that. And it's kind of fun. And I'm very grateful that you were able to make this old man friendly. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, though, I guess to kind of talk about what has been going on. Well, as you heard on the weekend, it was free RPG day. And here in Guelph, my friendly local game store, The Dragon, where I work as a DM for hire, held its first event, as far as I'm aware. Tremendous success. That was very cool. I also wrapped up my season at The Dragon for when I run my RPG games. And it was almost a complete party wipe, but my players were cheering. It was friggin' intense. It was so awesome. And I really had a good time. So that was something else that happened to me. I also went back to Poetry Slam with Guelph Spoken Word for the first time in like 8 months, just because I didn't much care for the venue, but I gave it another chance. They were super friendly, super accommodating. If you were following my post on Blue Sky last night, I had a really good time. I placed third overall. Didn't win, but still, it was just a fantastic time. So I'm glad to be back at Guelph Spoken Word. I'm actually going to be volunteering with them. And it was kind of cool. I actually met some people that I know who've only ever heard about me online. They came out to see me, so that was really nice to meet them. And yeah, I had a really good time this week. And then I guess finally, before I throw over to you, Alex, I started posting more stuff over at my Patreon. I started working on my own Star Trek adventures. There's a solo RPG called Captain's Log. I reviewed it a couple of years ago, but now I'm diving into it as sort of a writing vacation. And you may have heard me and Steve Megatron talk about this on some old podcast like 10,000 years ago, how we used to play by email or play by post, which is sometimes we play a role. Yeah. So I took my old character from the 90s. I recreated her in Star Trek Adventures, and I actually have artists helping me out. I met this wonderful artist named Paige here in town. She's helping me do some artwork. I met a wonderful individual named Gavin from the Star Trek group who did some 3D renders of her. And it's kind of cool. I actually feel really inspired to write some Trek. So that's been pretty fun for me. So I guess, Alex, what have you been up to this week?
Oh, for me, it's mostly been catching up on all of the review items for the Nintendo Switch launch. So,
what's been your big kind of standout so far to you?
Well, the two that I've been working on and I just completed, so expect a review in this show for one of them, and then the other review will probably be in a Turtle Treasure, or it might be a standalone. Depends on how long the review ends up being. But I have Brave the Default Flying Fairy HD Remastered. That's probably going to be in the show today. And then the other was Rhino Remastered, the Devil Summoner game from the PS2 that was.
Is that the one that came with the plushie?
Originally, probably, yes.
Yeah, because I think I had that. I think I played that, but I don't remember fuck all about it.
It's an action RPG. You control a couple demons at the same time. They come out and fight alongside you, and then it's a little bit of a detective game, but you're running around town. It's a little more streamlined. I'll go into it obviously in the review, but I think it's most notable now for being from the very tail end of the PS2, the point where it's one of those. Remember how Atlas was really known for having small runs of games back in the day, and then they would go up in price because they only printed one print run. Well, they did a second and third one, and I remember that EB Games or GameStop, but back when it was still just EB, before the change, they had it brand new, in a second print run of this, in 2010 or 2012, way after the PS2 was discontinued. It was this game, one or two others for that from that series, and then Final Fantasy X, I think, randomly got reprinted again or something. So I just remember seeing it and I was like, I'll get it eventually, and then I just never got a chance to play it. So I've got those for review. Those are two bigger RPGs. I've also been working on with some new controllers from Retro Fighters, testing out, doing some firmware updates, because as well as getting items for review with the new console launch, a lot of times there's firmware updates that come out before you can use stuff properly. So it's taken me a little longer to do the full reviews of certain things, because I'll get done working with it and then go, oh wait, there's a firmware update to allow it to work on more hardware. So it's I don't want to record something and then have it already be out of date.
Yeah, you actually showed me some of those new controllers when you popped over to build the new computer. I'm actually really impressed. I was actually saying, fuck, I'm going to have to buy some new controllers, which I want to shout out one of the manufacturers. It's called 8-Bit Do. I was really worried that my fight stick that I got last year that I was so proud of that I worked on, because I hadn't done one in 10 or 15 years. And it was like relearning a skill over again. And I had it wired and everything, and I couldn't get it to work. And I'm thinking, fuck, did I just waste $100 something on this? And literally you're like, Mike, just wait a day or two. And prophecy has been foretold. Firmware update got it working with the Capcom Fighting Collection 1 and 2. The beat 'em up bundle works friggin' awesome. And I think you got your first fight stick, didn't you?
Oh, I got a cheap garbage one, a Chinese knockoff.
But hey, it's a good thing to learn on.
It's the size of the Hori Mini one, but it's
okay.
What? I didn't necessarily need it just for fighting games. I wanted something just to do with arcade game. Yeah, things I could use more multi-purpose. And of course, the buttons are a little smaller. I saw it on Amazon for like $21 plus tax. Came out to like less than 25, including shipping. And it's wired. I wanted to just see if it would work with the Switch 2. And yeah, it looks like pretty much anything that's a wired controller works just fine, especially if it uses, like a generic driver for it. And it works fine. I think I can't replace the buttons on it because they're soldered onto the board. But that's because it's to be expected with a $20 thing. But interestingly, the actual joystick, it's using a Chinese Sanwa clone.
Okay.
So because of that, apparently you can just you can replace the stick mechanism if you wanted to, or just replace the actual shaft or whatever of the ball if I want different travel on it. But like in looking at it, it's like 30 some odd dollars to get an official Sanwa. Like, why would I spend more than 1.5 times the cost of the actual stick to get one part replaced? It's not worth it. But because it's there, at least I know that I could replace it if I wanted to. And it's small and compact, so it's something that I can use likely more for like arcade collections and stuff. But maybe some fighting. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and play with it beyond that. I just thought it was like $21. There's no way I'm not going to try.
Yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, the first fight stick I ever learned on was a Dragon Ball Z fight stick for the PlayStation 2. And that's how I learned to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, was on a shitty $30 Dragon Ball fight stick. And then eventually I graduated up to the Mad Catz tournament editions for Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter X Tekken, which I really wish I still had some of those sticks. If anything, just because I think the artwork on them was beautiful. And I wish I scavenged the parts in retrospect. But yeah, I mean, you know what? You tend to build me things for my birthday. Maybe if you're interested, but be serious about it, I will build you a fight stick, and I will look into it when I get some money later on this year. Because if you really want to learn how to play fisticuffs, I'll teach you.
Well, and also one thing to consider is I didn't want to buy a new stick initially, like right away, like one like you have, the 8-bit do, which is a good stick, because we're still not sure. Are they going to come? Are the companies going to come up with like brand new versions?
I would think so
for the Switch 2. And then also with PS5 getting that Marvel Tokon, and they've announced their own stick. We don't know when that's coming out just yet. I'm going to assume it'll be out by the time that game is out, but probably even before that.
If I had to guess, earliest holiday, more than likely next year. But I guess you might see a demo of it if they're smart. We'll see something at Tokyo Game Show. Or if they really want to show the community, hey, we're awesome, maybe Evo. They'll just show it off on the floor saying, hey, check it out. I doubt it, but you never know.
And if that ends up being a good controller, that would be something, I'd be looking at maybe getting something that would probably be fine out of the box as is for their stuff, especially since it just, I get the feeling that they're putting more effort into it than you'd think. But the other one is like, that little mini guy that I have, good just to pop out, but one that would be like Switch 2 and PC is the ideal, and that's where I keep my eye out for building one, a proper one.
Yeah, like the one that I have one that's a PlayStation 5 stick, but it also connects to PC as well. The only thing it can't do is Xbox. There was a guy years ago I used to work with, very fine gentleman named Ed, and he used to run a website called Arcade in a Box. Now, for those of you that know, that was the origin of my TWIG stick. This guy built me a custom fight stick that could do PlayStation 3, PC, technically Wii, and it could do Xbox 360, and it was just via a little switch because it was a board inside that would just activate. It even had like the PlayStation Home buttons. It was a gorgeous stick. That one I've still kept. I still have that stick out of nostalgia purposes. I will never get rid of that because it's a good PC stick if I ever want to do it. It just doesn't have wireless capability.
A true custom.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a piece of art. Like he literally built this with like particle board. He gave me like custom topping. It's laminated. It's gorgeous. I still love it. It's unfortunately in the closet, but I still love it. But yeah, and that's like the stick I took to Los Angeles when I went to the Game Awards back in 2009, and I got a chance to play with my friend Alexandra, and it was just it was a fucking wicked time. So anyway, we have a lot of stuff to talk about in the show. So I've got a couple of interesting reviews from me. So I got sent from the team over at Magic the Gathering. They sent me a Commander deck for their crossover of the year. Good luck topping this. Final Fantasy. They sent me the Commander deck for, I want to say, Final Fantasy 14 or 15. And they sent me 20 booster packs, including some of the really expensive collector packs. And I've had hot pulls. This game has taken over my life. I'm looking forward to learning more about Commander. So I'm going to share some of my impressions about the hunt, the cards, and some of the community that's kind of built up around this thing so far. Here's a hint. It's pretty fucking cool. And then the other thing, I'm going to talk about a game that Alex gave me for review from our friends over at Sony. I'm going to be looking at the Days Gone remaster. I'm going into this completely without knowing anything about the franchise, as I never played the original Days Gone. So we're going to see what I think about this 2019 game brought up to 2025 standards, and that's what I'll be going through. And you said, Alex, you have maybe Bravely Default in this?
Yeah, I'll have the Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD remaster. Sometimes getting the names right with these remakes, remasters is difficult, but I'll have that. That's the Switch 2 exclusive. One of the very few Switch 2 exclusives that's on.
Fantastic. So we're going to do all that and more, but we're going to start things off by summoning something kind of awesome. And this is going to be my impressions of Magic the Gathering X Final Fantasy. We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on thisweekingeek.net.
We have them surrounded, sir.
Yes, I can see that. It was only a matter of time. Here we are. So then, what is this ragtag group of misfits I see before me? Avalanche!
Local florist.
Lab rat dog.
And where are the rest of you? Up your ass. Charming, though not what I would have chosen as my last words.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk about something really interesting I got sent for review consideration, and this is coming from the good folks at Wizards of the Coast and the Magic the Gathering team. Right now, there is a really cool, I guess sort of their universes beyond. This is their Final Fantasy expansion, I guess, for Magic the Gathering with 4 commander decks. The one I got sent was based on Final Fantasy 14. The commander deck is called Scions and Spellcraft, where I'm more or less using like spells and everything. I've actually had friends of mine down at one of the friendly local game stores here in town at the Round Table help me modify this deck, and I'm looking forward to putting this into play really soon because this guy's really good. But I do like the commander format for Magic. It's a little bit different than your traditional kind of Magic game. And with Final Fantasy, you're now adding summons into it. So if you want to, bring in Espers from Final Fantasy VI, you can do that. You can bring in some of the summons from Final Fantasy VII, like Knights of the Round. But, it's really unlike anything I've ever really gotten into when it comes to some of the Magic IPs that are starting to cross over now. Like, they've done Transformers. I missed the boat on that crap. The Fallout stuff was interesting, but it didn't grab me the way that I wanted it to. And that's not a negative thing to say. It just didn't do it for me. And when I got invited to a press briefing just before PAX East, I was super excited for this. And then I started seeing the artwork on the cards. Now, Wizards also sent me a starter set, which has 2 fully playable decks right out of the box, a commander deck, and they also sent me 20 booster packs. These things are like crack. I see how people get into this game so hard, because as I've mentioned previously on the show, I played back in the 90s with the Weatherlight expansion is when I tapped out and went to the graveyard, and now I'm back. This has been really fun. So yeah, they sent me 20 booster packs and a couple of the collector versions of these booster packs, which you can find. Good luck if you can find them, because the collector boosters are really expensive, but they're like rares and mythics, like full foils and all that stuff. The stuff I've primarily been focusing on is the play boosters, but there's even like different versions of the commander decks, which tend to go just a little bit harder as well. I'm really looking forward to getting more into it, but regardless, this is really fun. There's also pre-release stuff as well that you can probably find at your friendly local game store too. But again, like some of the other decks that they have for some of the Commander are based on some of the other games as well. Like there is a one based on Final Fantasy X with Tidus. There's one based on Terra from Final Fantasy VI. And of course, the one that everybody wants is the Commander deck called Limit Break, with everyone's favorite spiky-haired protagonist from Final Fantasy VII, Cloud Strife. And it's been a really fun time to buy these play booster packs, because that's where I'm mostly getting a lot of my really fun cards. Like, I've already pulled VVs, I've pulled Yunas. What I'm really looking for is stuff based on Red 13. I mean, I'm the guy with the Red 13 tattoo right now. And it's been quite the quest to find some of these things, but I'm also rediscovering my love of the Final Fantasy franchise. And I think that's kind of the magic, if you pardon the expression, of this particular crossover, because I feel like Final Fantasy appeals to just such a wider community base that people like collectible card games, and that's fine and everything, but Final Fantasy has been around for so long that it predates Magic the Gathering. I mean, I remember I was playing Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo when the early sets, of Magic were just starting to come out in the 90s. So they've existed together for a long time, and now that the IP has crossed over with this, it's really cool. And I'm seeing some really interesting decks come together, and just watching the market on this stuff, it's unlike anything I've ever seen or been a part of at the ground level. I mean, to say now is a great time to jump into Magic would be a bit of an understatement. If you can find your favorite Commander deck, I highly recommend that you do so. Now, that being said, some of the stuff you're going to have to find on the secondary market, but from what I've read, there probably are going to be future print runs of some of this stuff because they realize the market's there. And hopefully Wizards and the Magic the Gathering team will continue to support this. Like I said, I really am having so much fun with this. I can't wait to go out there and try my modified Commander deck and just frankly whoop ass with it. Like, spell, you think you're awesome? Not today, punk. It's going to be wicked. And eventually, when I get a chance, I'm going to try and build a Final Fantasy VII themed deck. So hey, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll finally find that Limit Break Commander at some point down the road. But seriously, Final Fantasy cross with Magic, it's so much fun. The card art is out of this world. Maybe you'll get lucky and find one of those gold chocobos. There's only 77 in the world, and I know someone who pulled one of the pink chocobos. And as of this recording, I think that card's going for like $1,500 plus. So it's a fun time to be in this hobby. It's an exciting time. It's like, hey, it's like going to the Gold Saucer, or, maybe you'll get unlucky and go to the Tower of Zozo, which isn't so fun. But seriously, I highly recommend this. It's a great time to play. It's a great time to visit your friendly local game store and begin summoning your own version of Magic.
But this is not where your journey is meant to end, my dear boy. You must leave the Vale once more.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This week in Geek, News.
And welcome back to This Week in Geek.9. I'm Mike the Birdman. He's Alex, the producer. All right, so we are going to dive into the news this week as I hit my microphone with my watch. Shit. But anyway, this first story comes courtesy of 9news.com, though I have seen this report across multiple outlets. $1.4 million worth of Nintendo Switch consoles stolen in Colorado. A semi-truck driver discovered the theft during a pre-trip inspection at a Bennett truck stop. A high-dollar heist was discovered earlier this month involving the theft of thousands of Nintendo Switch 2 gaming consoles worth about $500 each. The theft was reported around 8 a.m. June 8th at Love's truck stop at 1191 First Street in Bennett, according to Man, this is a weird name. Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. A semi-truck driver reported during a pre-trip inspection he discovered that his trailer had been broken into and newly released Switch 2 consoles were missing. Quote, when deputies arrived, they determined that around 2,810 Nintendo Switch 2 consoles were stolen out of the back of the trailer at some point, said Anders Nelson, public information officer for the sheriff's office. The driver told deputies he was en route to a GameStop store in Grapevine, Texas. I probably know exactly where he was going, actually. From Nintendo of America in Redmond, Washington. He told deputies he did not know what was in the trailer, only that it was games or toys. Thieves took multiple pallets of the Nintendo Switch 2 consoles, no small haul. They retail at $499 each. The cost to Nintendo was just over $410. So either way you look at it, it's well over $1 million worth of merchandise stolen, Nelson said. Steve Beatty, a computer science professor at MSU Denver, said not to expect those swipe switches to show up at Craigslist or at pawn shops. Because they're stolen, I would expect them to head to the dark web pretty quickly unless they're shipped out of country, Beatty said. The anonymous spot to buy and sell is feeding a demand. Beatty said it doesn't take long on the dark web to spot a low-cost Switch 2. Quote, and it took me about 2 minutes to find Switch 2s for sale, and it's half price. If you end up with a stolen Switch, Beatty said these devices each have a serial number that police and Nintendo can track. When you log on, you have to register that number. That's how you play games, get updates, Nintendo said, and can track down your device. Quote, Nintendo does have the capability of what we call bricking the device, and that is to make it non-functional, Beatty said. Getting around that lockdown isn't simple. You have to try and jailbreak it, essentially sidestepping those protections through coding, Beatty said, or avoiding connection to the internet altogether. To conclude, as deputies work to detect who cleared out those consoles, Beatty said, if you are too far on the hunt for a Switch, stick to shops you trust. They are pricey little devices. If you're not paying $500 to $600 for one, you're probably not getting the original. And of course, you can certainly want to go through a reputable dealer, Beatty said. Investigators aren't sure whether the heist occurred in the town of Bennett or in another city where the driver stopped. If caught, the suspects could face charges of felony theft value at $1 million or more, as well as criminal mischief. And then it goes into basically their version of Crime Stoppers. Yeah.
This had to be planned. Somebody would have had to know that
this truck was hauling this. Oh, yeah. And it's funny. So I was watching a video on Inside Gaming, and they were talking about Nintendo's capability to brick consoles. And because if you use a device called a MIG card, where you can load multiple Switch games that you presumably own on one convenient cart, but if it detects that hardware signature, I guess, they can brick the console. But weird thing. So let's say your Nintendo Switch 2 gets bricked, right? If you go out and buy a new Switch 2, like brand new off the rack at Walmart or Target or whatever, if you log into that Nintendo account, you're fine. They don't care because you bought a new console. So the account doesn't matter, but it's the hardware that's locked out. Now that presents an interesting thing. If you were to buy a Switch 2 on eBay, Craigslist, Facebook, wherever, you better verify this console can connect to the internet and receive updates. Because that's a whole new way to rip people off. Like, you see people on TikTok and all these other kind of platforms selling, hey, I've got a PlayStation 5, like $200 or whatever, some ridiculous price. How many of these consoles are banned? Like, the amount of Xbox 360s I used to see banned back in the day was a lot more than I expected. And now in the era of like PlayStation 5 and people doing, unauthorized things to PSN accounts, it's the hardware that gets nailed and presumably the account as well. So long story short, don't be a piece of shit. But with Nintendo being able to track down these numbers, I would be very fascinated if they ever do a follow-up to the story. Where did these Switches end up? Like, I'd be very curious if like one ended up in like England or Thailand or South America or something.
If they catch the whole pallet or multiple pallets of them, because that's a lot. So was the truck itself stolen, or was it
it was just out of the back of the truck? Because looking at the picture, like somebody broke into the trailer and unloaded pallets. And if you're doing this at a truck stop, that's pretty conspicuous. If you show up with like a U-Haul trailer and you're unloading an 18-wheel or whatever it is, why are you moving that at a truck stop at like 3:00 in the morning? Why aren't you going to your place? Like, because that would, I don't know, but if you do a pre-inspection at a truck stop, they're checking your weight. They're checking all these things to make sure you're underweight, you're on the road. You have to match a certain set of stats that I understand before you leave and before you check in at the next stop. Your weight has to match.
So it depends on how fast they can get pallets. I would suspect it'll hit the news if they are able to catch the entire load or most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, it's, a heist that big will make the news if they're caught.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just like a single skid, it might not make the news.
Yeah, like something about this, like you said, this has to be an inside job. And if it's going to Grapevine, Texas, and the only reason I say I know where this is going is Handsome Tom was like one of the regional managers for GameStop in Grapevine. Hopefully I didn't just dox you, Tom. Anyway, I knew a lot of this stuff. And like, I'm thinking GameStop in Grapevine, there's only so many stores in that region. So someone had to have said something somewhere, say, hey, this is the route. Here's where they're stopping.
Somebody got the manifest on that side, or what Nintendo will be looking at is somebody get the manifest from their warehousing dock on the West Coast.
Yeah, that's true too. Like, there's so many potential security leaks, and I know we're making it sound like this is some friggin' CIA heist or something, but no, this is pretty significant. Like, that's over $1 million worth of consoles.
Specific targeted thing with one truck holding all of it. It sounds like it was going to a distribution center. Because no single store is going to have 2,000 units.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it was supplying the Dallas-Fort Worth area, even then, that sounds like an awful lot for one city.
Because for launch day, my store here had a little over 200, I think, consoles. And that would be more than the 5 or 6 stores in my region would have had to launch.
Like my local GameStop, I think, had about 120 to 150. And I presume that'd be the same for the mall too. So we probably had a little more, maybe a little less than 500 in Guelph. And that's just at the GameStop. So that's not counting your Walmarts and any other retailer that might have them. So
if we consider our retail locations, KW, we probably had 2,500, anywhere between 2,500 and 3,500.
And it's funny, like, I don't recall. I mean, I think you and I covered, there were some theft of PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's, but not that many. I remember when the PS3 came out, like, people were getting robbed and shot at gunpoint outside of Best Buys when that console launched, but that was like 2006 or something.
Yeah, that was also the pricing
time.
And I would say that with the PlayStation 5, we did hear about it, but I think it was like a truck with 40 of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a truck that was going to load like a specific store or a couple stores. When you're dealing with a few thousand, that would be like for a regional distribution.
Like, it's weird just to think that this is how it all like kind of went down. Like I said, there's something vaguely unwholesome about all this, but you know,
the last time we reported on truck thefts, it was butter.
Yeah, butter or dildos or people steal some weird shit.
It was butter, sex toys, and butter, sex toys, and maple syrup, or as I like to call it, a fun Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to Guelph, baby. Which, oh boy, I could tell you stories from the Poetry Slam last night that oddly involved all three of those things. I'm not even kidding.
Good Lord.
Yeah, good Lord. She won, and they deserved it. Anyway, yeah, it was weird. So hopefully they catch these guys, and you know, because just don't be a piece of shit. Our next story,
or if they were like planning to scalp it, they're not going to be able to get their money right now.
Yeah, because like to even like kind of break off on like a sidebar on all of this, and we talked about this during our Switch coverage last week with Ken. This console launch for the Nintendo Switch 2, I originally thought it was going to be a disaster, and it wasn't. You can still relatively easy, at least in our region anyway, find
Canada.
A Switch 2. Yeah, in Canada, you can find a Switch 2 really easy.
The States is still being restricted because they're only selling. There's like 3 locations that they're producing these consoles, but I believe they're only using Taiwan. I forget wherever it is because of the Trump tariff tax stuff. They're avoiding the ones that were made in China, which was the vast majority. So we have ample stock. Most of Europe has ample stock. It's just the States because they don't want to get hit with like $200 in tariffs on each single console, right?
Which is again just so ridiculous. And like I said, like the fact that I can go into, like, I went into Walmart this morning, like I was gonna go buy some Magic cards, and again, I always pass by electronics. It's force of habit, but like, hey, there's still a Switch 2 in there, and all the games and all the accessories. That's kind of cool.
And
did not expect that.
It's not a case of nobody wants it. Like you see some people on the internet, oh my god, nobody wants. No, there's plenty of demand. There's just plenty of restocks happening, at least outside of the continental U.S., which would explain why a truck theft might be viable. But like, if so, the news story, if it had happened in Canada, would have been why.
Yeah, it's like, why? You can go to fucking Shoppers Drug Mart and grab this thing right now.
Yeah, it is not supply constrained anywhere outside of the state.
Yeah, it's just it's so wild. And like you and I both have friends and fans that interact with the show on our personal Facebooks, and it's just weird seeing some people in the States saying, "Oh, I still can't find a Switch 2." I wish I could remember what this gentleman had said, but it was something along the lines of like, "Oh, if you can find a Switch at retail price, please let me know." And this is like a week and a half after launch, and I was like, "Dude, why aren't you looking at GameStop or Walmart or Target?" I don't know. Like I said, it's so weird, and it feels weird specifically because like we are used in Canada to getting hosed on stuff like, "Oh, we can't get it. It's a regional exclusive or supply chain or whatever." It's kind of weird how we're on the upper end of this thinking, "Hey, yeah, we got plenty. Can we help you?" I don't know. It's weird.
Like when you and the collector community were finding a bunch of like
toys or something.
Hasbro and Mattel toys that were like on the shelf that in the States either weren't out yet or like occasionally
months ahead of release at like a cheaper price and like at regular retail, not at scalper price. Yeah, like even today I was chatting with a guy that I'm just became new friends with on Facebook, and we're both Transformers nuts, of course. And I was saying, "Hey, do you want this Skybite? Skybite's the flying shark from Robots in Disguise. That figure's not supposed to hit retail till either August or October. I've seen 4 of them on the shelf in the last 2 weeks. I bought one and there's still a bunch there. There's Hot Spot. I've seen like the Wheeljack mold. Like I'm just seeing all these stuff that shouldn't be out yet. And like, yeah, there it is. Party on, bitch. It's weird. So anyway, we're going to move on to our next story. This one kinda, I don't get why. So this one, is coming courtesy of comicbook.com, but another South Park episode may be getting banned. Another South Park episode may be getting banned by Paramount. We are getting close to July 1st, which is set to be a big deal for South Park fan. Before starting on July 1st, South Park HBO Max deal will end, and Paramount Plus will become the exclusive streaming home of South Park. Going into this, there have been reports that Paramount is planning to ban multiple episodes, making them impossible to stream. This has not been confirmed and right now remains strictly rumored. Ahead of this, though, another episode has started to be banned in some regions, perhaps indicating it will be one of the episodes completely banned by July 1st. Previous reports mentioned a whole slew of episodes that will be banned, but they did not mention Season 5, Episode 14, Butter's very own episode. That said, in Canada and other regions, South Park fans have begun to report that the episode is no longer available to stream. Now that the episode is still available to stream in the United States, so far it has not been universally banned, but that could be what's in the works. As you should expect, South Park fans are not happy, and in some cases are even threatening to pirate the show if this is how it's going to be. If this is going to be the standard going forward. Quote, 16 episodes, not counting Muhammad, that is 1.5 seasons worth of South Park they have pulled, writes one South Park fan. Quote, I might just wait to wait for the pirate sites to get the new episodes rather than giving them any of my money or support. Paramount has remained silent about the future of South Park and reports it is planning to ban a smattering of problematic episodes, or at least episodes that may or may not view as problematic. That said, compared to other episodes, Butter's very own episodes is fairly tame. However, it does have some very specific commentary on O.J. Simpson, Gary Condit, and both John and Patty Ramsey that Paramount could view as problematic. Unfortunately, right now, as all we have is speculation, it appears Paramount has no intention of ending the speculation with any type of official information on the matter, which some fans have taken to mean bad news is coming. And then it just goes on to say, hey, for more bullshit, come here. It's a show like South Park. I'm honestly surprised more bans haven't happened sooner, but it's South Park. You kind of know what you're getting into. Like, I can understand like the Muhammad thing because, well, if you're following the news right now, it's
from
not
a standpoint of free speech and that I don't agree with the censorship at all.
Yeah,
it's like if you don't like it, then don't air it in your country. If your country or region or where you're from, doesn't have that kind of freedom in particular, or it is offensive because your core values that, you don't have to watch it.
Yeah. And I mean, clearly you were okay enough with it to give them money to make it. You were okay enough to print it on physical media.
Yeah.
And you were cool enough with it to air it on a major broadcast network like Comedy Central. So yeah, like if you're going to fund it, stand by it. Now, that being said, you can evolve, view something as problematic, and things change, right? Like maybe if they said something like really egregious, I can't think of a specific example off my head, but you know what you're getting into here. And I guess maybe if they wanted to have like a streaming thing where they're quote unquote banned, maybe they could add like a layer. So you could say, hey, if you agree to view this content, you have to go through like another portal and you have to like verify your age or something. Maybe that's an option, right? Maybe just hide it behind like a layer or something. Like, just not make it so it's like click, 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 boom. But, maybe like click, click, click. Oh, fuck, here's my birthday or whatever. Boom, it's done. That's an option, but it doesn't really solve the problem. I mean, again, streaming is so weird. I'm a big digital guy. I like digital, but I don't like the fact that stuff can just be taken away. Like we just mentioned with the Nintendo Switch thing with the MIG cards. You can just boop, your system can just die. With this, if they don't like something and you bought it, they can just take it out of your digital library. And we've heard of that happening with Apple Plus shows. We've heard of that happening with Amazon Prime things. It's a license at best. So if you own these banned episodes in a digital format, what does that mean, if anything? Again, that's pure speculation on my behalf.
Episodes paid for on PlayStation 3 would like to have a word.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm very curious.
Remember,
like, how are you going to do this?
They didn't just make it so you can't, rebuy or redownload. They removed them, and that was retroactively removing them, and then making the argument that you never owned a copy, even though for people that got it originally, the original wording was that it was for like 100 years. And then they switched it and it was gone. And their argument was, well, the service doesn't exist. So like I had a few TV shows episodes that I had either got for free or purchased a few back when I was, checking it out, like, because you could purchase them and then watch them on PS3 or PSP. And it's like, not that I even want to anymore, but it's like the fact that you removed them was problematic.
Yeah, because like I lost a couple of movies on one of my services because the license expired, and I was like, fuck, what? I don't know, like. And I remember I lost even a few games on Xbox Live Arcade. And the game I remember specifically that I lost, because I'm so close to platinuming this fucker too, which makes it worse. I think it was Afterburner. It was like a reimagining of like Afterburner, and it was really fucking fun. But Sega delisted it, and I couldn't re-download it. Or something like that. Like I remember it was in the dying days of my Xbox 360, and I was like, "Well, why? I paid for this." And I don't know, like digital for convenience, it's nice, but I don't like the fact that they can cross their fingers behind their back and say, "Oh, don't worry, everything will be fine." So I guess we're gonna find out what happens. Like I completely forgot that South Park seems to jump hands every couple of years, or at least maybe I'm not paying attention. And to be quite real with you, when we were reviewing stuff for Paramount, I would often ask for the South Park stuff because you know what? I don't have as racy a sense of humor as you, which is weird. I used to think I was the outrageous one. And then, Alex, I became friends with you. I'm quite tame in comparison.
Well, and that's the thing, my sense of humor might be more off color and go to more extremes than that you'd expect. But
yeah,
but that is diametrically opposed to how my personality actually is in person, and my personal beliefs and how you should treat people and how you should talk to people is much more Mr. Rogers than it is when it comes
Andrew
to
Dice Clay
than it is to what I find funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Like I can find something hilarious and then be like, "Oh my god, that's so offensive that I could never do that to somebody in person," but I find it hilarious.
Oh yeah,
like the ridiculousness of it. So like I'm right there. I think a lot of other people are too. It's just you might be surprised at how far my sense of humor goes.
Yeah, I've had some very interesting conversations with you that I will hopefully never see the light of day. But it's funny though, because like South Park is a show. Again, to go back to the old man thing that I said at the beginning of the broadcast. I don't know whether my sense of humor is changing. Am I getting old? Do I just not connect with this sense of humor anymore? Because the last thing that I watched for South Park, for example, was the Ozempic episode, The End of Obesity. The only time I really smiled during that was when the cereal mascots did their Mad Max thing, and they were like bombing like Ozempic factories, which is again so outrageous and ridiculous. It was fucking stupid, but the whole time it was just like Cartman eating his sugar bomb with KFC and going to the bathroom saying, "Don't worry, I'm going to fill the toilet this time." And I was like, I guess that's funny. Or the streaming wars was another one, and Mr. PP and all that shit. I don't know. Like, it's a show. I wonder if it's just not for me anymore. Like, humor for me, it's not hitting like it used to. And it's very funny. Like, I'm like, even I was chatting about this with like Liam the other day, and I was like, I don't know what I find funny anymore. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, even going back to some of my favorite movies from like the mid 2000s, like I went back and watched Superbad a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking, I had a little bit of a good time with this, but I don't know. Either way,
how much of that though, to be completely honest, is related to your bipolar mood?
I would wonder what that is, because like certain times I'll be like really good, and it doesn't take a lot to make me laugh, and other times I'm thinking,
yeah,
all right.
It's not to use that as a crutch or to be rude. It's just
no, yeah, you're absolutely right.
If you're I feel more so than like a normie in quotes.
Yeah.
You have to be in a very specific headspace, I think, to appreciate it. Otherwise, like, it's not that you're going into something not wanting to laugh, but I feel like sometimes your attitude is, well, make me laugh. And it's like, well, if that's your attitude, then
yeah, that's exactly it. Like, make me laugh. Like, all right. And it's a challenge, and it doesn't always rise up, even older stuff.
That's what I mean. But then I've been, with you where, you're feeling good, and it's like, it's not even a challenge. It's more like, how can we make you not laugh?
Yeah, exactly. It's so strange, but I guess to cycle this back to the story, I'll be very interested to see what episodes gets banned, but the fact that there's a season and a half missing, that's not great, but the show still prints money as far as I'm aware.
And that's from the States. I forget in Canada who has the...
I think it might be Crave. I think it might be Crave.
Now the advantage there is, outside of the States, there won't be content ban. Well, except for certain countries.
Yeah.
But like I was going to say, like they're obviously purchasing the DVDs and the Blu-rays would be your best route if you wanted to preserve it, because there's nothing in the States that bans the sale of the actual disc, at least yet.
Yeah, exactly. At least not yet.
But as far as like our listeners in Canada or the UK, for the most part, your streaming platform that has it should be okay. And again, I think the funniest episodes, quote unquote, are, there might be one or two in that season that are, stand the test of time, but the funniest episodes generally don't get. They find ways around it.
One thing I'll be very curious about is I will be very curious to see what Matt and Trey can do next to up the ante to really skewer the current political climate. And we're not going to get too far into the weeds here.
Well,
but
the new season is coming, and I think that they're doing a thing where they're splitting episodes where it's like a certain amount on TV and a certain amount on streaming only, as part of their new deal. And the preview for it showed them going back to war with Canada, just like in the movie from '99.
Interesting.
And it's over tariffs.
That'll be funny. I mean, I would like to see them, particularly there are two people I want to see them skewer. I want to see them go after Kristi Noem, who's like the director of Homeland Security, and Pete Hegseth, who's the current defense guy.
They are, and they're making fun of, at least from the preview that they released, like 20-second thing. They're going after Elon Musk and that, and like the quote from it is, is the Blame Canada song is being remixed in the background, and it shows them like getting ready for war with Canada, and then they go to Randy, and he's like, Sharon, don't mind me or whatever, I'll be back. I'm just gonna take a bunch of ketamine and fuck with the government, and it's like I think that's supposed to be the Elon Musk, that whole thing about how much drugs he's on.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's going to be timely. Like, obviously, like this is a weird situation where America moves at such a pace now that I don't even know if South Park can keep up with it, even with their like 5 days to air.
Yeah, I was about to say that, like, considering how often the news literally changes minute to minute. I mean, as we're recording this, some very bad stuff happened in the overnight. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. What's that old Chinese proverb? May you live in interesting times. No, I'd like to get off now. I want to go back to watching stupid shit and, eating SpaghettiOs and watching Star Trek at 3:00 in the morning, not worrying about nuclear Armageddon and tariffs every 20 minutes. Fuck, I didn't know what a tariff was a year ago. I hate this. And on that note, we're going to end the nerd news right now. And we're going to take a listen to one of Alex's reviews for one of the games for the Nintendo Switch 2. We will be back right after this with some more weird shit that happened around this plane of existence this week. We'll be back right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex the producer. Alex, take it away.
Alex the producer here, and I have a new release to talk about. Our friends over at Square Enix sent a review copy of Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster for the Nintendo Switch 2. This is an exclusive release, one of the very few exclusive releases on Switch 2's day one, that also happens to be one that is available on physical release. It is a game key card, which there is some controversy around that, at least in the public eye. But obviously, I have a review copy on digital, so it doesn't matter. Just know that the game doesn't take up that much space. Depending on any updates and that, you're looking at a dozen gigs, if that makes any sense. And comparatively to a lot of other releases, we're not dealing with 70 gigabytes of data here. It's not that bad to download. It actually installed and downloaded in like 2 minutes, which is a testament to the Switch 2's improved Wi-Fi at Ethernet and just overall store capability. So this is a remaster. They're saying it's remaster / pretty major upgrade comparatively to the original version. Released back in the day on the DS, like 3DS, DS era of consoles. I remember playing it originally when it came out, and I'm not going to do any spoilers. I'll say this: there's no spoilers for the story or anything here. With this franchise, as well as like the spiritual successor stuff with Octopath, you kind of know that there's going to be twists and turns and ups and downs and interesting concepts and ideas, more so taking risks with storytelling elements than what you'd see in other like mainline stuff from Square Enix, like Final Fantasy. So, just know that going in, that what might seem like a normal experience ends up being a not normal experience as you go along. So that being said, go in with an open mind, and I think you'll have a good experience. Now, the big review here is going to be, what did they change, right? Because we already know it's one of the like best hidden gems of the handheld era from, that era of 10 plus years ago, before, everything was consolidated now with having the Switch being like the one platform that Nintendo has. And I can say this, the audio is a significant upgrade. Obviously being on a newer platform, plus having the surround sound support, and even like having upscaled surround sound that you can get with the virtual surround on the Switch 2 is a pretty big bonus, I think. As far as the music, it's pretty memorable. The voice acting of what's here is good, and I would say an improvement, at least for what I remember from the previous version. Visually is the big upgrade. Obviously, we're now having proper HD scaled to 4K visuals. It's not going to blow your socks off technology wise. It's not pushing the Switch 2 really in any massive direction as far as it's not like we're going to like massively better textures, but it's substantial. It's to me what I would expect when there was a while where a lot of these like DS and 3DS titles were getting ported to HD by Square and being put on like PlayStation 4 and PS4 and PS5, and that is pretty much the quality here, right? Like they're ports, but they're not like full ground up complete remakes. And what's important here is that the performance is quite good. You get a full solid 60 the whole way through. I played it both portable and in dock mode and with no issues. Also, playing it portable, because it's not crazy intense on the graphics, I was getting probably 4 to 5 hours at least on a single battery charge with the brightness down a little lower. So it's not like it's gonna drain your battery in like an hour and a half or 2 hours like maybe a Cyberpunk or something would. As far as anything else that is included here, there doesn't appear to be a lot that's changed outside of having the ability to make like battles move faster. There's some quality of life updates here and there, but for the most part, it's a pretty faithful adaptation of the original version, and it's nice to see it get some love. Hopefully, that more in the series that wasn't previously on Switch will get ported over in the future. And something to keep in mind is, at least in Canada, I don't know the exact pricing in the States. It's $54.99 if you get the physical version or digital. Physically, it is a game key card, but that isn't like code in a box. It does mean that you can sell it, trade it afterwards. just means that the game key card has to be in place when you're playing it. So keep that in mind. Like if you're somebody who has, you're on a family plan or you have multiple Switches to choose in your family's household, digital might be the way to go for that because it's a little easier for you to lend a copy to your family member. If you're on the family plan, you're part of the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion family, whatever they call that, bigger tier. You're able to lend games for a couple weeks at a time to anybody within your family. That's something that's a little easier to do, obviously, if you've got the digital copy versus the game card. So if you're doing that, that's something to consider. If not, you want to get it for your collection. Getting the game card would be perfectly fine. It's just know that you don't have everything on the card itself, so it will require a download. And again, not a huge download. This is one of the best RPGs that I think a lot of people slept on, or maybe you've heard of it but didn't have the ability to play on a modern console, and it makes the adaptation quite well. Load times are next to nothing. Battles are fun and engaging. The turn-based system is, where you see a lot of the games in this franchise have gone. You can see the origins of it here, and it's pretty simple to get used to, easy to master. It's not overly deep. It's just the right amount. It's a good RPG to get people into the franchise. One thing to keep in mind, though, is regardless of difficulty that you're playing at, it does ramp up at the end pretty far. You will have to do some grinding, but it's still pleasant because the music is good, and I do think that this is a very influential game, not just within its franchise, but within the way certain storytelling elements happen in modern JRPGs. So I wouldn't want to miss this. I think it's pretty much an essential buy if you're looking to pick up games that are exclusive, especially at the launch of the Switch 2. And I'm very interested to see if they adapt the other games of the franchise that were not part of the Switch originally, because Bravely has been a high mark in Square Enix's catalog that, for a while hasn't seen a lot of turn-based games, but it was very nice to see one.
Oh, and something I almost forgot to mention, I can't believe it, are the extra features that were added to this version for the Switch 2. One, obviously I mentioned that there was high-definition graphics added, much better textures and everything. The user interface has changed, obviously, to take advantage of the more real estate and being on a completely different platform. There is a fast-forward mode, so that the battles can go a lot quicker, which is always good to see that because it allows you to grind without necessarily having to do too much with it. The encounter rate can be changed on the fly. You can do it down to like 50% encounters, up to 200%, and there's even items you can get that change that completely to like 400%, and then down to like 0 later on. So that can help if you're doing exploration to find chests and things, or if you really need to grind and really power yourself up at a certain point. If you find yourself near the end and having difficulty, beating some of the enemies, you can just sort of give yourself a boost. There is online compatibility. So it lets you send, you can send your moves basically into the ether, into the internet, and anybody that you encounter within the game, they can pull you in as a friend, quote unquote, and then summon your character to use in battle, and they'll do their special move. It's kind of neat. It wasn't utilized a ton by me when I was playing. But the other thing that's added specifically for the Switch 2 version is minigame. So you can go, there's a point where you can encounter in one of the towns, like a traveling carnival. And in that carnival, there is a bunch of minigames that you can play using the mouse capabilities of the Joy-Cons. You have to use it in mouse mode. So the reason I didn't mention it is I only did it once or twice because I played the game mostly docked with my Pro Controller. And you cannot use the Pro Controller. It has to be with the single Joy-Cons in mouse mode. So it is a little gimmicky, but it is kind of fun. And the mini games you have can be, of varying quality, but overall pretty fun. And what they do is they let you earn points, sort of like you would in like a casino mode in a lot of games. And what you can do is you earn all the points and you can trade them in for special items, upgrade things, Again, similar to other RPGs that have like a casino mode. And that's pretty cool, but it just adds that little bit of extra sauce on top to give the game a bit of a bonus. And, putting it all together, you end up with a really solid release that, I hope more people play. It's a great way to get into RPGs, especially like a hybrid of like the modern style of storytelling with a bit of the classic gameplay.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I am Mike the Birdman. He is not. He's Alex the producer. All right, guys, so it's time to talk about the weird news that happened around planet Earth this past week, as if there's another planet this could be happening on, but hey, there is the idea of the multiple universe. This is the multiverse. Anyway, this first story comes courtesy of the Associated Press. 15 sets of twins are graduating from one New York high school. This comes from Hempstead, New York. A high school in the suburbs of New York City will be seeing double on graduation day this weekend. Among nearly of the 500 students in its graduating class, 30 are twins. It's a tight-knit group. Some of the students at Long Island's Plainsview Old Bethpage John F. Kennedy High School, I've known each other since kindergarten. Their parents meeting through a local twins club. Some of them still even plan family vacations together. These days, some of the twins are on a group text change, which has helped them cope with their newfound notoriety as graduation day approaches. Quote, honestly, when we're together, the room is electric, said Sydney Monka as she attended graduation rehearsal with the other twins earlier this week. We're all very comfortable around each other, and we have all these shared experiences, so we're bouncing off each other. It's really cool. Save for their shared last names, though, the pairs may not have been hard to spot as they walk on the stage at their high school graduation held at Hofsted University in Hempstead. The students are all fraternal twins, meaning born from different eggs and sperm, so none of them are identical. Many of the twins are different genders, but that doesn't make the bonds any less tight, said Barry Cohen, who's attending Indiana University in the fall. Quote, especially for the boy-girl twins, a lot of people think it's just like siblings, but it's more than that. It's because we go through the same things at the same time, she said of her brother Braden Cohen, who's heading to the University of Pittsburgh. Most, when prodded, give a playful shrug at the curious phenomenon in the high school, which is located in an affluent, largely white district of around about 35 miles east of Manhattan. I guess there's just something in the water, said Emily Brake, who's attending the University of Georgia, echoing a common refrain among the twins. Quote, we're all just very lucky. I think it's just kind of a coincidence, adding her sister Amanda Brake will be attending Ohio State University. Others acknowledge there's more than Mother Nature at work. Ariana Camerani said her parents have been trying for years to have kids, and in vitro fertilization was their last option. Back then, it was more common than it is now for IVF babies to be twins or triplets. There may be some genetic components at play. Quote, there's very few twins in our family. Like, I have cousins that are twins, so I guess that raised the chances of having twins, adding the incoming freshman at Stony Brook University, also on Long Island. Other schools with large sets of twins. Large cohorts of twins are not unusual at Plains Oldview Bethpage. The high school had back-to-back graduating classes with 10 sets of multiples in 2014 and 2015. Next year's incoming freshman class has 9 sets of twins, according to school officials. Among the other schools in the county with big sets of graduating twins are Clovis North High School in Fresno, California with 14 pairs, Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenbelt, Maryland with 10 pairs. Last year, a middle school in suburban Boston had 23 sets of twins in its graduating class, though they're still far shy of the record for the most multiple in the same academic year. New Trier High School in Wichita, Illinois had a whopping 44 twin pairs and a set of triplets in 2017, according to the Guinness World Records. After graduation, most of the twins at Plains Oldview Bethpage are heading off to different colleges. An exception is Aiden and Chloe Manzo, who will both be attending the University of Florida, where they'll live in the same dorm on campus, both study business, though with different majors. We're going to see each other a lot, said Chloe Wirely. Deep down, my mom knew it. It would be easier if we went to the same school, she added. Like moving in, graduation, going to sports games. Some were apprehensive about living far from their longtime partner in crime. Emma and Kayla, this is a fun name, Libowitz, will be attending Bingham and Syracuse University, respectively. The fifth generation twins said they're already making plans for frequent visits, even though upstate New York schools are some 80 miles apart. I think it's going to be really weird because we really do everything together. She's my best friend. I really can't do anything without her, said Emma. We're sleeping over every weekend. I'm coming for football games, like all of it, said Kayla. Others were looking forward to getting some breathing room. Sydney and Kayla Jasser said they're both studying fashion design, but at different colleges. Sydney is attending the University of Delaware, while Kayla will be attending Indiana University. And this fucking page, there we go. We would have went to the same colleges, but it was this stupid pop-up. I hate those things. We could have just went to the same college, but we just wanted to be able to be independent since we've been with each other forever. Kayla said it'll be good to get out there and have our own experiences rather. Can't imagine being like just having a twin around you all the time. I mean, hell, even to me, knowing I have a half sister out there is still kind of weird. Like the first time I met them and seeing my own face reflected at me was strange. I can't imagine having an identical twin, but I guess the fraternal twin, like I still don't get how that works, honestly. Like, who cares? I guess.
Read that article and I thought, oh, this is a great horror story. Like a school where it's all twins, and there's so many ways you could make this go.
Oh yeah, like this is very like what's that? Village of the Damned or like Stepford Wives bullshit. It's weird.
Even though it has really nothing to do with it, you know what came to my mind immediately?
What?
I don't think it's Are You Afraid of the Dark. I think it might have been. No, it's not Goosebumps. It's Are You Afraid of the Dark. There is an episode where these new kids attend like this new boarding school, and then at the nighttime, like all the kids are like zombie walking to like work in the basement somewhere at the school.
Okay,
and it was it turned out it was like alien pod people forcing them to like help gestate the pod growth of their aliens, and it was in the school food that they were eating that was making them go like food tasted kind of like weird mush, but when they would hear a certain tone over the this PA system, it would basically brainwash them into doing things. And
I think I vaguely know what you're talking about, actually.
For some reason, that episode came into my head when I'm like, it's just a bunch of twins. And it's like, is it really? Is it really just a bunch of twins at the school? Why?
I mean, it's again, it's so strange. I mean, like, I don't get the sibling life because I never had that experience living up. I mean, or growing up. I had people who were very close to me who were like family, but like you have a brother, you guys are close, even though you used to beat the crap out of each other, but you guys hang out all the time.
6 years age difference is a lot when you're young. It's not when you're both in your like late 20s onward. It's not.
Yeah, like I think I'm a couple years older than my half sister. I don't think she's 40 yet. She might be 40 now. I'm not 100% sure. Trust me, guys, there's a lot of complication there I'm just not going to go into. But yeah, I still don't get it. But hey, hopefully these twins will have a good time. But again, it would just be so weird. Like, I've seen a lot of video where like identical twins. It weirds me out. Like, I don't fucking clones and pod people.
Sorry, but the internet, like the audio for the internet cut out for a moment. And after you said, I've seen a lot of video, I was thinking, oh God, where is this going? This could go. Is this going in a porn direction? Is this going in a different? This is a disturbing discovery. And I thought, okay, oh God, what do I have to do? Do I have to delete some audio here, or do I have to pause? Or did Michael just burn out?
Yeah, I think I kind of malfunctioned there for a second. Although, to make a funny joke, not related to this, so just disregarding the whole familial thing, I saw a funny meme this week, and because, it's Pride this month, and, celebrate your individuality. Even I've expressed some of that stuff on my personal Facebook, but I thought this was kind of a funny joke. And it was a quote. It's like, how do you view lesbian relationships? Which is a very valid question, right? And the response was in full HD. And then it goes ... That was not the response they wanted to hear.
It's that meme of in school. It was,
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be in school. It's like for Pride Month in school. How do you view lesbian relationships? And then apparently in HD was not the correct response.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's funny, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
and
like-
it's not that bad.
No, that's a harmless joke, but it is funny.
That is not dad humor. That is cool uncle humor. And this
Actually, it could also just be cool ant humor.
yeah, exactly. See, it totally works. So our last story you found, and this feels very much where I'm from. Once again, coming to us from the Associated Press. Not so hot pursuit,
aka unbiased news. Fucking
yeah,
Americans.
exactly. AP and Reuters. So the not so hot pursuit of burglary suspects. These police cars chase tractor excavator at walking pace. So from North Charleston, South Carolina, police in South Carolina engaged in a not so hot pursuit as they chased a tractor excavator down a main highway for more than an hour at the speed an average adult walks. The chase reached speeds of 3 miles per hour or 4.8 kph, which means my chair is slightly slower than this. Sunday morning in North Charleston, police said officers on a different call saw the big piece of construction equipment with treads and a shovel in front of go across U.S. Highway 78 around 3:30 a.m. North Charleston police wrote in the report. A few minutes later, they got a burglary call from a business that was heavily damaged and saw the excavator slowly heading away, police said. Several cars immediately joined in the very slow speed pursuit. The excavator was going so slow that cruisers would have to briefly stop several times a minute as to not pass the construction equipment. They had their blue lights and sirens on and told the excavator driver over their loudspeakers that he was under arrest and he needed to stop. Other cruisers blocked traffic. The chase went on for about an hour and 12 minutes before the excavator drove onto the Charleston County Fairgrounds property where it got stuck. The driver tried to run but was followed by a drone unit until a police dog and handler caught up, authorities said. The 53-year-old driver of the excavator was charged with failure to stop for a blue light and 2 counts of malicious malicious injury to real property and remained in the Charleston County Jail on a $22,000 bond, according to jail records. Why would you run? At that point, you've been on the road for an hour and a half, going faster than my wheelchair.
That's like the Austin Powers running gag they did in the movies where it's like through the steamroller.
Yeah, no,
and it's just happening. It's like in slow motion, or what was it? Mr. Bean is it the second movie, Mr. Bean's Holiday, where he steals the guy's bicycle, electric bike, but it's one of those, ones where it just has like a little motor on the side of your regular bicycle, and he rides away, and the guy just walks up beside him with his arms crossed, taps him on the shoulders, like, "Get the fuck off my bike!" That's what I like. Like, they were going slow enough that the dog could have probably run and jumped in the window.
Like, it's so ridiculous. I'm like, dude, I mean, like, I have several questions for this. Number one, where are you going to go? Number two, if the police cruisers are having to stop as to not pass you, I'm going to presume these officers are in reasonable amounts of shape. They could be walking beside the excavator going, "Stop, please stop, sir, sir, please,
they didn't
please."
want they didn't want to wreck their vehicles. Otherwise, you can't really pit maneuver it, right?
Yeah.
Like, because the kind of the vehicle, they don't have a tank, and they don't want to wreck the SWAT. Usually there's like a SWAT tank, like not tank, but it's like
those like APC type thing.
Yeah, an armored vehicle. They don't want to use that on that. It's kind of a waste. Like, if this was, if this was like in most parts of Ontario and especially other parts of Canada, this is a case where you would have had like the mounted division riding a horse trotting beside it. Buddy, pull over.
Yeah, like, okay, seriously, to follow that up, they could have had a guy on horseback, Alex, walk up behind this thing and pull the wires out. They were going so slow.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're going so slow that literally a horse could trot up beside a mountie would have knocked the window and said, "Hey, bucko, pull over." And if he were to like try to swerve it, it doesn't move fast enough to spook the horse.
Yeah, the horse is just gonna gently veer off to the side.
Like it's a situation where they could have just billy clubbed the side of the window of that thing, and it's just, you know what I mean? Like it's, if you're going slow enough in a vehicle that the horse won't get tired. Yeah, they were just probably waiting till it ran out of gas and making sure that it wouldn't veer into like pedestrians.
You know, and when this guy went to the fairgrounds, because that just makes the most perfect sense in this entire messed up scenario. You know who I pictured jumping out of this excavator? Carl from like Aqua Teen Hunger Force with his fucking flip flops and his wife beater t-shirt.
I was
running away.
I was picturing Ernest P. Worrell.
Like, seriously, like, this is the most blue collar and stupid crime ever. Like, this isn't like a meth head with like a trebuchet launching drugs. No, this is bored guy, 3:00 in the morning, or they fired me and I didn't get my severance. This is like a crime of stupidity.
This is a situation like if it was a drunk guy, he would have been. They would have mentioned he was swerving, which he wasn't.
Yeah, he was
so
just
like
casually driving.
This is like a guy that thought one of two things. One, oh, the keys are in there. If I steal this, I wonder how I can, how I can sell it. How can I make it, like, not really thinking farther beyond that. There might be some drugs or something involved. Or two, the likelihood would have been like the same thing you said. Guy was fired. He's like, well, fuck that. I'm getting mine. And taking it. The other thing there is, like, how do you unload an excavator when it comes to like?
Yeah, because like you'd have to have like paperwork, a VIN number, a safety record. Like I'm this is pure speculation, but I would think if you sell a construction vehicle, you'd have to know, well, what sites has this piece of construction equipment worked on.
Yeah, and like
work orders or something.
It feels like he was in there, taking for a joyride, was going to steal it, and then when the cops showed up, he's like, well, I don't know what to do now. I'm just going to keep moving until they give up. Like the panic and stupidity that involves there. But also, this guy's lucky that it wasn't the Northeast that he did this, because it wouldn't be the police that would be after him for stealing construction equipment. It would be like Tony Soprano type people.
Yeah, like this could have went like if you rip off someone in like Jersey,
Jersey, New York, Chicago, Boston, Philly. There are certain cities in the Northeast that you do not want to take construction vehicles from. At all.
Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, just I don't get it. I mean, I'm glad nobody was hurt. That a drone and a dog, like, they could have had the police puppy chase this guy down. Which, by the way,
that's what I'm saying. Like, they could have either been on a horseback, or they could have driven very slowly beside it, and then told the guy to roll down his window. And if he did, be like, "Hey, pooch," and then just toss the dog in the window. Just throw the. Actually, no. They probably get in more trouble for throwing the dog into the vehicle.
Like, just bleh. Although, speaking of dogs, I just have to share a moment from yesterday.
Okay.
As many of you know, I'm a huge dog person. I love dogs. You've probably seen me pictures with the Guelph Storm Husky, Athena. Love animals. So there's this really friendly dog that I've been running into when I drive down to go volunteer. Yesterday, I was driving down to Poetry Slam, and this giant black lab, Alex, like literally like this monster of a dog, comes up to me, goes, "Hi, Mike, hi, Mike, hi, Mike, hi, Mike." Comes up, biggest, wettest kisses I've met this dog like once before. This is the second time he's met me. I get swarmed with kisses and please pet me. And then I've met my first ever boxer. I've actually never petted a boxer my entire life. I can't believe the size of these animals. And again, just had a really pleasant experience with that. And I don't know why. I just really wanted to share that. I just had a really nice time with dogs yesterday.
Not a weird story, just a good story.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to choose weird news to end off on a happy, positive note. The dog's name was Duke and Boomer. They're fucking awesome, and I hope I run into them again. I always feel bad because sometimes, like, one thing I've been doing recently is I carry dog treats with me, and Blair's encouraging me to carry tennis balls just in case I run into a big dog that wants to, like, kind of play now. So Oh, anyway, love Guelph, love dogs. Don't know why I brought it up. Enjoy. So we got one more story this week. This one's going to be a little bit different. And this is going to be my review of the new Days Gone remaster game that originally came out on the PlayStation 4 all the way back in 2019. I'm going to give you my impressions of this old game with a fresh coat of paint. So prepare to go to the northwest of Oregon and let's take on some freakers. So we'll be back right after this, only on thisweekingeek.net. Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk about a game we got for review from our friends over at Sony Interactive Entertainment. I'm looking at the Days Gone Remastered on the PlayStation 5. So this is a game that originally came out in 2019 towards the tail end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, and it's a game that I never got around to playing. I mean, I'm into the whole zombie game. I mean, I've played, stuff like Dying Light, Left 4 Dead, obviously The Last of Us, and this is typically my jam, right? I mean, apocalyptic world, dark, desolate, and considering we just had 28 years later come into theaters, hey, the timing's right. Zombies are cool. Zombies are hot. My experiences with this game, not so much. What can I say about this game that wasn't originally said back in 2019? I know Alex did a review of this previously before, so if you want to go back and check out his thoughts on the game, I'm sure it shouldn't be too hard to find on the website. But with my experience with this game, this is a game that I wanted to love, but I really didn't. I mean, you follow a couple of biker buddies in Northwest Oregon, and they are trying to survive the outbreak of this virus that turns humans into things known as freakers. These strange mutated creatures that are basically like zombies, but they're alive, except they bleed and poop. Trust me, it makes sense later. It's them basically being mercenaries trying to survive, but also integrating with different communities, which provides different unlocks. One of the big things in this game is they advertise that you can go anywhere and you're on like a bike and everything. And one of the other big draws is that you can fight a crap ton of these things on screen all at once. And when it works, it's really freaking cool. When it doesn't, it slows to a crawl, as obviously you're going to fight other people, not unlike The Last of Us and the Hunters, or members of the WLF, or, just the infected, people with the cordyceps virus. Whereas in The Last of Us, it had characters you connected with immediately, with Joel and Ellie. Here you get Deacon St. John and Booze Man. I hate these characters in ways I can't describe. And it's not because the performances are bad, because the guy who plays Deacon is actually Starkiller from Star Wars The Force Unleashed, and he's also done a bunch of other things in Hollywood, and he's a really good actor, and I really enjoy him. But here, this game just didn't grab me. One of the things that really bothered me about this, it's just how slow and clunky combat feels. Now, I don't think that's old man yelling at Cloud, but I couldn't get into the same rhythm of how I got into with other action-adventure games in this genre. Now, admittedly, you're not the Terminator. It's pretty easy to die, but I wasn't drawn into the world of Days Gone like I was expecting to. And I had like an ethical crisis, literally like, am I crazy for not liking this? And I actually went out there and talked to some of my peers. And I'm like, no, this game is aggressively mid. And it's not bad. I mean, it's fine for what it is. If you own the original Days Gone, getting the remaster doesn't cost that much. As for getting this brand new, I might recommend it. I mean, if you want a really long game, like this is a game you're going to sink a lot of hours into. Unfortunately, a lot of those hours are going to be spent grinding and trying to get the progression up to get yourself some really cool weapons, which is, again, cool, but I don't know if it's like 40 hours plus cool. So if this game comes on sale, yeah, sure, it might be worth kind of picking up. I mean, it looks gorgeous. I can't deny that. It looks really nice. Some really cool kind of lighting effects. When my bike's headlight is shining through these dark forests and shadows are kind of playing in the dark. That's neat. I like that. That's actually kind of cool. But everything else just, it's hard not to compare it to its contemporaries at the time. The Last of Us coming out on the PlayStation 3. And then PlayStation 4, we had The Last of Us 2. And now both of those games have been remastered. And I just feel there's a more powerful narrative there. I feel like this was an attempt to build a franchise. And I think there's a possibility here, but I don't love it. It's not to say that it's not bad. It's just not for me. Is it going to be for you? I don't know. If you like The Last of Us, if you like any of those more dark and depressing zombie games, yeah, there might be something totally here of value. But for me, it just didn't do it for me. So Days Gone Remastered, I'm going to say wait for a sale, or if you already own the original, you can import your PlayStation 4 save data into this, and the upgrade is fairly cheap as far as I've been made aware. So go check this out. Once again, that has been my impressions and thoughts on Days Gone Remastered on the PlayStation 5.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
Hey guys, welcome back to This Week in Geek.net. Big thank you for joining us today as we are under an unbelievable heat wave. I hate this, but it's relatively cool in here, so I'm okay with it. As for stuff that's coming up on the site this week, I am recording a pair of shows that'll be released during the summer. One of them is going to be coming out on Canada Day, and I can tell you what that is. That's going to be kind of our kids double pick features, like movies you could show to kids that kind of we enjoyed. I can tell you one of mine is a Chuck Norris movie, and one was a classic movie that I saw in the theaters involving ninjas. That's all I'm really going to say about that. As for everything else,
can I make a single guess?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I honestly don't know what you're talking about. The Chuck Norris movie, is it Code of Silence?
No, it is not.
Is it Invasion USA? One other guy.
No, it is actually a Chuck Norris kids movie.
Is it Sidekick?
It is, and it was made with his brother Aaron Norris. And there's a very interesting production story behind that, and Walker, Texas Ranger, which I found out about recently.
Because when you said for kids, it was for us. It would not be one of the religious movies he made in the early 2000s before he retired, quote unquote. It would only have been one of two movies. It would have been Sidekicks, which is likely for you because you're a few years older than me. Yeah. And for me, it would have been Top Dog.
I'm about to say, yeah, yours is going to be Top Dog.
because I was a much younger kid than you, right? So
yeah,
you were like the right age for Jonathan Brandis movie to make sense for you. I was the right age for dog movie.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about Sidekicks and Three Ninjas, both of which I have a very interesting connection to both of those movies from my childhood. I'm going to be joined with Dave, Ken, and I think Adam's going to be joining us. And then we're doing yet another Disney movie. We recorded a couple of these, and they'll be coming out during the summer. We're going to be doing a double watch of I can't remember what the full title is, but it's I think it's called Lost City of Atlantis. And we're also going to be doing Treasure Planet. And Dave said, you really need to watch this. And Ken has been going on about it for months. So I'm thinking, you know what? Let's we'll be talking about that on Wednesday. We're going to be recording our Lord of the Rings Trek Across Middle Earth this summer. We didn't get a chance to pre-record it, but we're just going to take our time and do it 1 week at a time. So you'll get that over the course of the summer till we get to Mount Doom and say fuck you to the One Ring. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to doing that. I know you, me, and Aaron have a few things planned. We've got some stuff in the can already for much later on. I'm already in conversation with some of the Halloween stuff. Actually, I may have a very cool surprise with one of our guests for later on this year as soon as I get things confirmed. I'll let you guys know. I hope it happens, though. Fingers crossed. And yeah, I'm going to be doing that. I've got some stuff coming up on my Patreon, which is, like I said, mostly just a bunch of writing. I'm interviewing another RPG writer this week. I'm interviewing Al Spader. He's another one of the people that I work with on Star Trek Adventures, but he also did the game Sentience for Modiphius, and he just recently entered the collectible card game space very recently. So we'll be talking about his career and adventures in the TTRPG and industries and beyond that. And I know the other thing I've got planned, I'm doing an interview on July 4th with one of the people I actually talked about in our free RPG special. I'm going to be talking with some people from Hit Point Press, and we're going to be talking about their RPG game Shift, which is a very interesting shifting dice mechanic game that is kind of setting agnostic, and I actually think it's pretty cool and would be fairly easy to run. So we'll be talking about that later on. What are you up to this week, Alex? Or what's going to be popping up on the site this week?
Okay, yeah, we've got like I said, some stuff recorded over the course of the summer, but that stuff, expect in the next week or two, we'll start having the stuff that we pre-recorded coming out as we're, ramping down our regular summer productions. So in the not too distant future, we'll have a Future Imperfect on RoboCop 87 in 2014, as well as Loose Cannon on, you guys recorded on 9 Media Icons. But as of this week in particular, we're going to have another Turner Treasure, depending on when I'm able to get some of the reviews done, for the last bit of things that were for the Switch 2 launch, because good Lord, it takes a couple weeks to get, 10 to 12 games covered, right? And the other thing that we've got ready to go is in Earth vs. Soup. The new episode is on the Yesterday Machine from 1960. And then, a little bit after that, we've got another Earth vs. Soup, which is Night of the Big Eat from 1967. And then there's probably like 150 of those episodes I can go and edit. Because in general, when Aaron and Darlene record, I won't hear from them for, a week or two. And then they'll be like, hey, I've got 5 more episodes for you. And I'll be like, what? So I've got a lot in the background that I'm working on.
Fantastic. So yeah, we got lots of stuff coming up that way. I'm sure I'm going to have more specials coming out during the summer. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a bunch of writing on my Patreon. Again, it is completely free if you choose to support. Awesome. If you don't, well, at least you got something to read. So yeah, you can follow that on one of the sidebars there. Obviously, we're still posting out on social media on Blue Sky. And yeah, so just as a reminder, so next week is our last live show, primarily outside of the stuff we're doing for Loose Cannon and other stuff, which is generally not time sensitive, but our regular programming, like our news show that you would hear each and every week when things don't suck, will be coming back in early September. That is the goal. So after Labor Day, just don't wear white. We're going to have fun.
And there'll probably be at least one
prototype, maybe
prototype in there, as well as in the months of July and August, there should be one review show where we're sort of going to collect everything that comes in over a couple of weeks so that things don't get too stale. Because, we don't want to end up, coming back in September and be like, hey, here's a review show with 30 reviews.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't surprise me if me, Ken, and JT get together to talk about Superman and Fantastic Four. I know me and JT recorded a show on the Fantastic Four, and I do believe we have that scheduled just before, before that's supposed to come out on July 24th, which is my wedding anniversary. And I'm sure we'll have more stuff to do over the course of the summer. So like I said, you will never be bored. Lots of stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having some time off, to playing some games, to not dying in this sweltering heat. But if you do happen to be going outside during the summer, please stay cool. Please stay hydrated. And, take care of yourself, because it's going to be a rough summer, guys. So do your best to be safe, be well, and I don't know, just go out there, have some fun, go see a baseball game, and just get involved in your local community. I'm actually going to a friend's one-man play this coming week, so I'm looking forward to seeing what Guelph Community Theater has to offer. So anyway, we are going to get the hell out of here. So for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next week, right here on thisweekingeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.